Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Life has a way of showing you who really cares about you the moment you decide to step back and disappear for a while. We spend so much of our lives trying to be present for everybody, trying to please, trying to show up when we're tired, drained, and broken inside. But when you finally decide to pull back, when you finally disappear to protect your peace, that's when the truth comes out. People feel your absence in ways they never admitted when you were around. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, the 10 things they feel when you disappear. Ladies and gentlemen, the first thing people feel when you disappear is confusion. Let me tell you, confusion is one of the strongest emotions you can stir up in someone who thought they had you all figured out. See, when you've been there for people day after day, when you've been the reliable one, the dependable one, the person who always answers the call no matter the time, they get comfortable. They start thinking your presence is a guarantee, like air, like water, like something that just can't run out. And then one day you stop showing up. You stop calling back. You stop giving your energy away freely. Suddenly you're gone from their routine. And now they don't know what to do with themselves. That confusion eats at them because it forces them to face the reality that you were not a permanent fixture. You were a choice that you kept making. Now, let me explain this to you the way I've lived it. People don't recognize value when it's in front of them every day. They think, oh, she'll always be there. He'll always have my back. I can always lean on them. But when you step away, they don't know how to process it. Their minds start racing, trying to figure out why the energy changed. Did I say something wrong? Did I do something to push them away? Are they upset with me? And see, most of the time, it isn't even about them. It's about you needing to breathe. You needing to take your power back. You needing to realign. But they don't know that. All they know is the comfort they once had has been taken away and confusion sets in. What's funny is confusion is powerful because it forces people to confront the truth. The truth is they never thought about how much they depended on you until you weren't there. The truth is they thought your presence was just automatic, like it didn't cost you anything. But being present cost you. Cost your time, your energy, your patience, your peace. And when you stop paying that price for them, they don't know how to balance the equation anymore. Confusion hits because they can't figure out how life feels different without your contribution. I've seen it happen time and time again. You can be in a room every single day, smiling, giving, loving, supporting, and they will overlook it. But let that room go quiet. Let that chair sit empty. Let your number stop showing up on their phone. Suddenly they're confused because the silence is louder than all the noise you used to make. Silence has a way of shouting the truth, and the truth is they miss what they didn't realize they had. Confusion also reveals character. See, some people, when they get confused by your absence, will try to reach out with genuine concern. They'll ask, hey, are you okay? I haven't heard from you. Just checking on you. That's real love. That's real care. But then you got others, and confusion makes them angry. They start saying, why they ignore me? Why haven't they called me back? What's wrong with them? Notice a difference. One type of confusion cares about you. The other type only cares about what they're losing from you. And that's when you start to see who really values you versus who only values what you do for them. When you disappear, confusion makes people stop and think. And that pause, that moment of uncertainty, is sometimes the most powerful lesson you could ever give them. Because while they sitting there scratching their heads, wondering what changed, you're finally finding peace. You're finally breathing again. You're finally reclaiming yourself. And that's when you realize confusion was never really your burden, it was theirs. Ladies and gentlemen, the second thing people feel when you disappear is guilt. And guilt is a heavy thing because it creeps up on folks when they least expect it. See, people may not say it to your face, but deep down, they know how they treated you. They know when they overlooked you, when they didn't appreciate you, when they kept taking and never gave back. They know when you showed up for them time after time and they couldn't bother to do the same for you. So when you finally step away, when you disappear, that guilt comes rushing in like a wave. They can't escape. But let me tell you, guilt is one of those feelings that doesn't go away quickly. It sits with you in the quiet. And that's what happens to people when you remove yourself. They get quiet time to think. See, as long as you were present, they could hide behind excuses. They could tell themselves, oh, it's fine. She doesn't mind. He doesn't care. They'll always be around. But the second you're gone, there's no covering up the truth anymore. That mirror gets put right in front of them, and it's showing every time they didn't answer your call, every time they brushed off your feelings, every time they assumed you would just take whatever they gave you. That's guilt talking. And it stings worse than anything you could ever say to them. And here's the thing. Guilt comes with memory. People start replaying the times you sacrificed for them. They start remembering the nights you stayed up, talking them through their problems, the times you gave your last dollar, the times you went out of your way to make sure they were okay, even when you weren't okay yourself. And when those memories hit without your presence there to comfort them, guilt eats at them. They realize they had something good, something rare, and they failed to honor it. That's the kind of regret money can't buy its way out of. Now, guilt doesn't look the same on everybody. Some people, when they feel guilty, they'll humble themselves. They'll reach out with an apology. They'll say, man, I should have treated you better. I didn't realize how much you did for me. I'm sorry. But others, they can't handle guilt. So what do? They turn defensive. They'll act like you the problem. They'll try to paint you as selfish, like you walked away for no reason. That's not truth guilt talking. That's guilt trying to protect their pride, because deep down, they know exactly why you disappeared. And let me tell you, guilt is often the first step to growth. Sometimes the only way people learn is by losing access to you. As long as they have you, they can keep mistreating you, keep underestimating you. But once you're gone, guilt forces them to see the value they ignored. It forces them to ask themselves, why didn't I appreciate that person while I had them? And whether they admit it or not, that question changes them. They may never tell you, but guilt has a way of teaching lessons in silence. What you got to understand is this. You don't have to make people feel guilty. You don't have to throw it in their face or remind them of what you did. Life handles that for you. Disappearing is enough. Your absence preaches louder than any words ever could, because when you're gone, the way the guilt does the talking. It reminds them that love, loyalty, support, those things were gifts, not guarantees. And once those gifts are gone, guilt steps in to show them exactly how much they misused what they had. So when you disappear, remember this. Guilt belongs to them, not you. You carried the weight long enough. You gave and gave until you had nothing left. Stepping back isn't punishment, it's freedom. And that guilt they feel, that's just the echo of all the moments they should have treated you better, but didn't. Ladies and gentlemen, the third thing they feel when you disappear is fear. And I'm not talking about the kind of fear you get when you hear noise in the dark or watch a scary movie. I'm talking about the kind of fear that grips people when they realize they might lose something they thought was guaranteed. See, when you've always been there, when you've always answered, always given, always shown up, people don't think about the possibility of you leaving. But when you disappear, suddenly the fear sets in. Fear that maybe this time you're not coming back. That fear is powerful because it forces people to face reality. They start thinking, what if she finally had enough? What if he's moved on? What if they done with me for good? That's when the panic kicks in. They'll check their phone more often, hoping your name pops up. They'll scroll through old messages, replay old conversations, trying to figure out where things went wrong. Because fear of loss is one of the strongest emotions a person can. People will do a lot of things when they're scared of losing you. Things they should have done when you were still around. And you know what's crazy? Fear has a way of making people remember your value instantly. They may have ignored your calls before, but now they fear you won't ever call again. They may have taken your kindness for granted, but now they fear they won't ever experience it again. They may have brushed off your presence, but now they fear life without it. Fear creates urgency. It makes people realize what they should have cherished. And sometimes fear shows you that folks knew your worth all along. They were just too comfortable to admit it until you pulled away. But let me be real with you. Not all fear is healthy. Some people, when they get scared of losing you, will try to manipulate you back. They'll use words like, "You've changed. You're different. You don't care anymore." That's not love. That's fear talking. That's them being afraid of not having the same control over you they once had. Other people, though, fear losing you in a deeper way. They fear the silence. They fear the hole your absence leaves. They fear realizing that the energy you brought into their life can't be replaced. And that's the fear that humbles people. See, fear is connected to the unknown. When you disappear, people don't know if it's temporary or permanent. They don't know if you're gone for a season or for good. And that uncertainty is what makes the fear grow stronger. Every day that passes without a call, without a text, without your presence, the fear gets louder. What if they never come back? What if I pushed them too far? What if I lost them forever? Those questions keep people up at night. And the truth is, you don't even have to say a word. Your silence says it all. The beauty of this kind of fear is that it puts power back in your hands. For so long, they held the comfort of your presence. Now they hold the discomfort of your absence. Fear teaches people that you're not replaceable. It reminds them that not everybody will put up with neglect, disrespect, or being overlooked. It reminds them that your presence was a blessing, not a right. And once fear enters the picture, it's almost impossible for them to look at you the same way again. So yes, when you disappear, they feel fear. Fear of losing your love, fear of losing your support, fear of losing the version of you that always gave without limits. And sometimes that fear is the only thing strong enough to wake people up and make them see they should have appreciated you while you were still there. Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth thing they feel when you disappear is respect. Now, let me break that down because a lot of folks don't understand how respect really works. Respect doesn't come from how much you give, how much you bend, or how much you sacrifice. Respect comes when people recognize you have boundaries, when they realize you will not allow yourself to be used up, drained, and taken advantage of anymore. See, as long as you keep showing up, no matter how they treat you, they don't have to respect you. They just get comfortable. They assume you always say yes, always be available, always put them first. But when you disappear, when you pull back your time, your energy, your presence, suddenly they see a side of you they weren't prepared for. And that's when respect begins. Respect is born in absence. People rarely respect what they see every single day because they start to think it's ordinary. But the second you step away, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. They realize how much space you fill, how much balance you brought, how much value you carried. It's like air. You don't notice how important it is until you can't breathe. And your presence works the same way. When you disappear, they finally respect the fact that what you were giving them was not automatic, it was a choice. And when you stop choosing, they have to sit with the reality that they never earned what they were getting. Let me tell you, respect is tied to boundaries. People don't respect a boundary that's never been enforced. You can tell folks all day long, don't cross this line. Don't take me for granted. Don't misuse me. But if every time they cross the line, you still stay, they don't believe you. They hear your words, but they don't respect them. Disappearing is the enforcement. It's you saying, I meant what I said. And trust me, nothing makes a person respect you faster than realizing you'll walk away when you're not valued. Now, there's another layer to this. When you disappear, people start respecting your strength. Because not everybody has the courage to step back. Most people keep giving even when it hurts them. They stay available even when they're empty inside. But when you show that kind of strength, when you say no more, I'm choosing me this time, people can't help but respect it, even if they don't like it. They might call you cold, they might call you selfish, but behind those words is respect. Deep down, they admired that you did what they couldn't do. Respect also changes the way they approach you when you return, or if you ever return. See, when someone respects you, they're careful with how they speak to you. They're careful with your time. They don't just assume you'll be there. They ask, they consider, they adjust. That shift doesn't happen because you demanded respect. It happens because you took it. And the way you took it was by showing them that your presence is not free. Your energy is not free. Your support is not free. If they want it, they have to honor it. And here's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. People don't value cheap things. They value rare things. When you were always around, they treated you like you were common. When you disappear, you show them you're rare. And the rarest things in life are always respected. Think about it. Diamonds, gold, luxury. Those things are valued not because they're everywhere, but because they're scarce. Your presence works the same way. And once people get a taste of what life feels like without you, respect comes naturally because they don't ever want to feel that loss again. So when you disappear, don't think of it as punishment. Think of it as the foundation of respect. Because when they can no longer assume you'll always be there, they finally start to honor you for who you are instead of just what you give. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is when real respect begins. Ladies and gentlemen, the fifth thing they feel when you disappear is emptiness. And let me tell you, emptiness is a feeling that cuts deep because it's not about what they see, it's about what they don't see anymore. It's not about what they hear, it's about the silence that takes over once your voice is gone. See, when you've been in somebody's life, when you fill their days with your presence, your laughter, your encouragement, your advice, they get used to it. They may not even say thank you. They may not even notice it while it's happening. But the moment you disappear, that space you occupy becomes obvious. Suddenly there's a hole they can't fill, a quiet they can't explain, a loss they can't replace. That's the power of emptiness. Now, emptiness isn't always dramatic at first. Sometimes it sneaks up on people. They go through their routine like nothing happened, but then something reminds them of you. A song, a joke, a habit, a phrase. And suddenly the room feels colder, the day feels longer, the energy feels different. That's when they realize you weren't just a person in their life, you were a presence. You carried weight, you gave meaning, you provided balance, and now that you're gone, the balance is off and the emptiness is loud. The hardest part about emptiness is that it doesn't fade quickly. People can distract themselves for a little while, but sooner or later they feel it again because emptiness has a way of repeating itself. It shows up in the moments they expect you the most, when they reach for the phone and your number isn't there. When they walk into a room and you're not sitting where you used to be. When they celebrate something and realize the person they always shared it with isn't around anymore. That's when emptiness becomes undeniable and it stings in a way They can't hide. And here's the truth. People never realize how much space you occupy until you leave it behind. They think of you as just another part of the background until that background goes blank. It's like furniture in a room. You walk past it every day, you don't really notice it, but move it out and suddenly the whole room looks wrong. That's what your disappearance does. It makes people see how much you mattered because the emptiness left behind makes everything feel incomplete. What makes emptiness so powerful is that it forces people to confront the fact that you were unique. They can try to replace you with someone else, but it won't feel the same. They can try to distract themselves with noise, but the silence still creeps back in. They can try to act like they don't care, but the emptiness in their life will keep exposing the truth. They miss what you brought because no one else can bring it like you did. That void is personal, it's shaped exactly like you, and nothing they plug into it will ever fill. And let me say this, emptiness also humbles people because when you were present, they might have thought, oh, I don't need them. They'll always be around. They're just there. But when you disappear, that arrogance falls apart. Suddenly they realize they did need you more than they admitted, more than they let themselves believe. And once that emptiness sets in, they can't deny it anymore. They might not say it out loud, but inside they know life without you doesn't feel the same. So when you disappear, don't ever think it goes unnoticed. Don't ever think your absence doesn't matter. Emptiness is proof that your presence was powerful. It's proof that you made an impact. Because when you're gone and people start feeling that void, that silence, that gap, what they're really feeling is the truth. You mattered more than they were willing to admit. Ladies and gentlemen, the sixth thing they feel when you disappear is admiration. And you might be wondering, how in the world can somebody admire you after you leave? Well, let me tell you, sometimes it takes walking away. Sometimes it takes stepping back. Sometimes it takes choosing yourself over everybody else before people finally realize your strength. See, admiration doesn't always show up when you're giving. It doesn't always come when you're present. More often, admiration shows up in your absence because people get a chance to see what it really took for you to do what they were too scared to do. Most folks are terrified of disappointing people. They're terrified of saying no. They're terrified of walking away from relationships, friendships, jobs, and situations that drain them. They'd rather keep suffering in silence than risk being called selfish. But when you disappear, when you step away from all that noise and you finally say, I've had enough, I'm choosing me this time, people watch that from a distance, and whether they admit it or not, they admire the courage it took. Because deep down, they wish they had the strength to do the same thing in their own lives. See, admiration doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it comes with silence. Sometimes it comes with people watching you, studying you, trying to figure out how you found the boldness to break free. They may not tell you, I respect what you did, but believe me, they're thinking it. They're thinking, wow, they really had the guts to put themselves first. They really had the guts to stop letting people walk all over them. They really had the guts to disappear and focus on their own peace. That kind of admiration is quiet, but it's powerful because it changes how they see you. And you know what else? Admiration often follows misunderstanding. At first, when you disappear, some people might get mad. They might say you're cold, you're different, you're selfish. But over time, when the dust settles, when they think about it longer, admiration replaces that anger. Because they start to see the truth. They start to realize you didn't disappear to hurt anybody. You disappeared to heal yourself. And that's admirable because most people never take the time to do it. They live their whole lives pleasing everybody else and they never stop to ask, what do I need? But when they see you doing it, when they see you standing up for yourself, that admiration grows. Admiration also comes from the results. When you disappear, you don't just vanish, you grow, you heal, you evolve. You come back stronger, more focused, more confident. And people can't help but notice. They say, wait a minute, they're growing different. They're talking different. They're walking with more confidence. They're living better than they were before. That transformation inspires admiration because it proves your decision to disappear wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. And when people see the results of that wisdom, they can't help but admire you for having the discipline to make that choice. Let me tell you something else about admiration. It's contagious. When people admire you, it pushes them to take a look at their own life. They start asking themselves, why am I still stuck here? Why am I still tolerating less than I deserve? Why am I afraid to disappear and reset when I know I need it? Your courage becomes their example. Your strength becomes their blueprint. And that admiration might just push them to make changes they were too scared to make before. So yes, when you disappear, people feel admiration. They admire the courage. They admire the strength. They admire the transformation. They may not always say it out loud, but believe me, it's there. Because the truth is, disappearing isn't about quitting. It's about choosing yourself. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the most admirable things you can ever do